It's almost like when you're leaving your hometown, you're almost going towards something and you're fleeing from something else. You're running away from things that you didn't want to deal with in the past because you didn't think that you needed to deal with it. You could just leave it there. But I think growing up, you have these ideas of who you can become, who you want to be, and you know the skills that you need to develop to get there. But then there's a point in your life, at least in my experience, there's a point in my life, which I'm in right now, and I realize I can only progress further once I kind of uncover and deal with, for lack of a better term, these skeletons in my closet. I apologize if you can hear me chewing on something. I'm just finishing up a cough drop because week 6, I have had this horrendous cough this entire week, trying to get over a cold or whatever it is. But I digress. I get into the point. I don't know how long this video is going to be because I completely forgot to charge my battery. It's only got like 13 or 12% left. I've always told myself I need to get a second battery, but we're going to roll with it. Braces, by the way, totally fine. They're starting to feel a little bit more normal again, as opposed to like the numbness and the tingling. There's 1 or 2 teeth that I swear are about to like fall out. That's what it feels like. 1 or 2 of them are super sensitive still. So I may have to go see the dentist again to talk about it, but I digress. I made a visit home for the weekend, and by home I mean Encinitas, which is the town that I grew up in. And if you don't know Encinitas, Southern California, if you're driving from Los Angeles to San Diego, you're essentially going to drive down the 5, which is that big old freeway along the coast. You're going to pass Camp Pendleton, which is like arguably one of the largest military bases in the country. And once you pass it, you'll hit Oceanside, Carlsbad, and Encinitas then. And all 3 of those cities are part of San Diego County, what we call North County. So it's a beach town. And every time that I go down to visit it, I am in awe and just, I want to say impressed, but impressed is like, it's too shallow. It's too stiff of a word. Like, because I grew up there, this was this city that is incredibly gorgeous. And when you're there, it's like, there's a lot of people, but it still feels very close knit. Like, certain people and you run into people all the damn time, but you never really, hometowns are unique because you never really take for granted the type of place it is. I know a lot of us, we want to get out of our hometown and never turn back. And I think, every case is different. But for me, I never really appreciated the beauty that the city has and the close-knit community that it has. Because for me, growing up, that was it. That was my baseline. That's what I understood. I just assumed that that's what a hometown was, and that I didn't think anything special of it because you don't have anything to compare it to. But then you move up to Orange County in Los Angeles, and I wanted to make something for myself. You have these aspirations in the hometown you grew up in. You understand what the world is based on that hometown, and then you get out there. And I loved the busyness of LA and Orange County, and I arguably still do. I love it here. But when I go back to visit, every time it's more and more of a realization of what special place it was to me. The close-knit community, the quietness of it, and in a sense, kind of paralleling it to, my experience with these braces and trying to tolerate the discomfort. It's almost like when you're leaving your hometown, you're almost going towards something and you're fleeing from something else. You're running away from things that you didn't want to deal with in the past because you didn't think that you needed to deal with it. You could just leave it there. But I think growing up, you have these ideas of who you can become, who you want to be, and the skills that you need to develop to get there. But then there's a point in your life, at least in my experience, there's a point in my life, which I'm in right now, and I realize I can only progress further once I kind of uncover and deal with, for lack of a better term, these skeletons in my closet, the closet that I've left in Encinitas. So I am really starting to tackle that. And by that, you really start to see like the dark parts of yourself, this underworld that I talked about in a few videos past, right? We're always going down to the underworld, making lessons, fighting our way back up with the new lessons. And then eventually there's going to be something else to dive us back down into the underworld. And I think I'm just kind of in that place again. Figuring out dark parts of myself that I thought were really scary and really dangerous, and really they're not so dangerous because they're a part of me. And in a weird realization, it's like I'm understanding the purpose of life. We think that life is all about going out there, making something of ourselves and building a family or building a career. And I think it's closer to cooperation. Like, it's weird. If you've ever watched the show Tiny Toons, and if you know what Tiny Toons is, then you're probably part of my generation. They had this episode on searching for the meaning of life, and they end up realizing that it's about friends. Friends is the meaning of life. And even when you look at the Harvard 80-year study where they try to figure out what's the key to happiness, and they figured out the best component to measure happiness in a longevity sense of life is connections, the connections that we make with people. So I'm really thinking that it is just cooperating with people. And when you're leaving your hometown, when I was leaving my hometown, I essentially learned how to take care of myself and put on my own bootstraps and learn to fend for myself in this world. And you would, make friends, but you would still keep this kind of guard up, or at least I did, of who I was. But we only survived getting to this point in civilization by cooperating with other people. And I think the sooner you learn that we have to cooperate with others, the better you are. It ties into the virtues of Stoicism. In order to really learn to cooperate with others, we have to learn to embrace that fear and confront that fear that we think is going to harm us, the dangers that we create in our mind. We need to tamper down our pleasures, the things that we want to go to feel good. We have to learn that there's a time and a place for all that. We have to learn that there's a time and a place for all that. You can have your cake, you can eat it, but you just have to know when to eat it and how much you can eat of it. Like lately, I have been hooked on Panda Express. Panda Express just came out with this Hot Ones bourbon chicken that I literally cannot get over. It is so friggin' good. I don't know if I'll ever get over it, but I know that, I can't really eat this every day because that's not probably the healthiest choice for me. But I digress. Kind of leads into that point, though, that we're always a work in progress. We're always working on ourselves. We're always learning to improve. And that's why I think it is so important for us every day to take that time, either in the morning, in the middle of the day, or late at night, to ask ourselves, where am I missing the mark? Where am I holding myself back? Where am I being fearful of something? Where am I taking too much pleasure in something? Where am I not being fair to other people? Where do I need to learn to cooperate a bit more? Can I reach out to a friend that I haven't seen in a long time and check in? Can I do something that I think is scary and dangerous for myself and just friggin' do it without fear of consequence, right? Like, again, in reason, you don't want to go out there and do something reckless and dangerous that's objectively reckless and dangerous, right? Growing requires growing pains. If you're not feeling that growing pain, that you can't grow, you can't evolve. And I think that requires us to look back in our past, look back to our hometown. What about it do we not like? What about it do we not appreciate? What about it do we not want to face? And can we face some of it? Maybe we don't need to face it all ever again in our life. And again, every case is entirely different. I completely get that. But is there something about that there's a silver lining? Like, I think that kind of exploration we need to go through. And that's something that I'm learning this week, as we're about to hit Halloween. So that's my video. I'm afraid I'm about to run out of battery, so we'll just stop it there. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Be brave. Be courageous.